Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, first this morning, let's get the latest on the campaign from a couple of bleary-eyed journalists who are no doubt counting down the hours until polling day. Sam Coates of The Times and Kate McCann of The Telegraph. Kate, you've run a story about a leaked document on Labour's immigration policy, particularly towards unskilled, post-Brexit. Was it just a position paper, or will it inform Labour policy would they win the election?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, this morning that Jeremy Corbyn was asked about this immigration policy paper that was penned by his Home Affairs policy advisor and dated this month. And he said it was a discussion paper, it was one of many, but he didn't deny that it could be part of Labour's policy on immigration, because, of course, in the manifesto, they don't actually set out what Labour's policy would look like. They set out aims on immigration. Jeremy Corbyn has talked about how he would put jobs and prosperity before an arbitrary target on cutting numbers, but we've seen no real details. So I think, yes, it will form part of their thinking, certainly. Whether or not we'll see it publicly before polling day is another matter. All
right. And Sam, your paper's reporting a YouGov survey, not a poll. It's an analysis, I think, of polling that's been done. And it shows that Mrs May could actually lose seats, though there's quite a wide range of opportunities that they give. Lots of others have been a bit sniffy about it. What do you make of it?
Well, look, I think what YouGov have done is a very credible attempt to do something a bit different with the data that they have. They've taken a massive polling sample of about 7,000 people taken over the last week and matched it together with loads of demographic data to try and work out what's going on in each constituency. And they have come up with this suggestion that their central scenario, with a wide margin of error, suggests that Theresa May will fall about 16 seats short of a majority. That is massively outside the consensus of SW1 opinion. It's not where the parties think that this election is. It's not where other pollsters necessarily think that this is. I'm quite struck by the level of shouting on social media and elsewhere, particularly from those people who just simply don't like the result that it implies. There are a range of forecasts from different organisations about this election. We will find out next Thursday who's right.
Do you believe it?
I don't. Polling isn't really a matter of faith. I think it's a very credible attempt to try and work out what's going on using different methodology to everybody else.
Do you believe it, Kate?
I wouldn't want to comment on polls. I'll use the traditional politician's answer. But what I would say is...
You're a journalist, not a politician.
I am a journalist, I am, but I'm going to steal from politicians on this one. But
no,
what I would say is it doesn't necessarily feel right. If you actually go around the country and you talk to people, and lots of people have, you've done it on your own programme, it doesn't necessarily feel in my gut like it's where this is heading.
We've got the big debate in Cambridge tonight. Sam, do we know there's talk that Mr Corbyn could turn up, or are they just playing with us, just teasing us?
Well, he was definitely doing that at his press conference this morning, trying to get Theresa May to come along. If you just watch that, you would think that maybe Jeremy Corbyn might surprise us all and turn up after saying that he wouldn't. I can see a big strategic downside in doing that, however, which is that it would elevate the importance of that event. It's quite helpful for the Labour Party that has benefited enormously from, as it were, the two-party squeeze, the fact that all the votes from most of the lesser parties, apart from the SNP in Scotland, have been folding into the Labour Party, and on the right, the UKIP votes folding into the Conservatives. So I don't think it would be tactically that wise, but if you just listen to Jeremy Corbyn this morning, we could be up for a surprise.
Kate, it's a week to go. This is Wednesday. The campaigning will stop next Wednesday because there's no campaigning on polling day itself, Thursday, June 8th. Sum up for us. Where are we in this campaign? Where do you think we are?
Well, I think in some senses we've had a sort of renewed vigour in the campaign. Yesterday you saw Theresa May effectively try and relaunch the Conservative campaign. If you notice, it doesn't just say Theresa May anymore, it says Theresa May and the Conservatives. This is very much the second part. Obviously, after what happened in Manchester, the terrible attack in Manchester, things stopped and slowed down. And again, we've seen Jeremy Corbyn come out today and focus on public services, on the NHS and schools. And I think that's how the parties are going to spend the next week, the final week. Theresa May talking about Brexit, why it's important that she's Prime Minister. Jeremy Corbyn talking about the money, talking about how Labour would put more money into public services, trying to go back in a way to the centre, to what appeals to lots of traditional Labour voters, and try and really shore up those votes and win anybody left who's kind of floating around and not yet decided. Of course, Theresa May will want to focus on why she should be Prime Minister and why Jeremy Corbyn shouldn't be, and I think we'll see him try and broaden it out and talk much more about policy in the final week.
Who's going to win, Sam?
Theresa May is going to be Prime Minister next Thursday. I think the most interesting thing about this campaign...
Well, with an increased majority?
I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But I think what is definitely true is that she called this election perhaps hoping for a landslide, a once-in-a-generation chance for a realignment. If that does not materialise, if we don't get 100+ seats next Thursday, I think she will come back to Westminster quite potentially with an increased majority, but perhaps weaker than she thought, because she has shown not to be perfect, not to be impregnable. Her and her team make mistakes. That will be one big takeaway from this campaign that is likely to endure almost whatever the result, unless she does terrifically well, far outpacing some of the polls that we've seen this morning.
And that brings us to the end of the Sam and Kate show for this afternoon. Thank you both there. I'm sure it will run and run. If not in Westminster, then at the end of the Blackpool Pier. What do you make of this election campaign, Peter Hennessy?
Well, there are no iron laws of British general elections, but there's a non-ferrous metal law. And it is this, that the issues flow where they flow. You cannot really ever expect a general election, even if the protagonist, the number one protagonist who's called it, wants there to be a driving question that dominates everything else.
As Ted Heath found out in 1974.
Ted Heath, who rules? And Willie Whitelaw, I think, said afterwards, when you asked the country who rules, they said rather, well, we thought you were, actually. Not like it at all. So I think it was wrong to think, if people did, I certainly didn't, that it would be a single issue question. And also it was overshadowed by the tragedy of last week.
Yes.
But general elections, of their very nature, are promiscuous things. They flow where they flow. And the human drama and the how can one put it, the human geography is as much a factor in these things, or seems to be, in the way the campaign goes and the tone and pitch of it, as the cartography of those opinion polls. I'm very sceptical, by the way, of that one in the Times.
You are? OK.
I think so. I think the poll of polls is probably a greater guide, and that's a 10% difference between the
That's a 10% lead for the Tories?
The Conservatives, yeah.
All right. Well, it's certainly an unusual campaign.
Very.
I think we can agree.
I've been getting away with it all my